Okay, whatever. I don't know what's making the noise, but it's driving me nuts. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
Yes, we are.
Let's do it. That, God damn it. Every time. Every time.
That's the intro. God damn it, every time.
There you go.
Welcome to Dysfunctional Adults, the comedy podcast in which we discuss weird news, pop culture, and being middle-aged dads. Yeah. We are bitter, cynical Gen Xers saddled with crippling debt and depressingly past our primes. But that's what makes this podcast so much fun. Yeah.
You got the voice, man. I remember one of the comments on the YouTube channel I used to run, the Flash Fiction Friday. Someone said your voice is very soothing.
I was thinking about just reading erotica, but nobody likes the erotica I write, so I need to find somebody that's willing to give me theirs.
Yeah, well, it can only go so far with like puppets. You know, sock puppets don't have
Right.
genitalia, so it's really kind of weird.
And even if you lube them up, they're still rough. You know what I mean?
They give like the best hand jobs, though.
Well, hi, guys. It would have been funny if while we're talking about that, our guest just logs out. He's like,
Yeah,
It's like done.
what's this BS?
What is this, middle school?
I was thinking more like, I thought I was the only one.
All the hard socks in the laundry, you know, when you're like 13, you know.
Good thing I did my own laundry.
Remember when your socks used to bend? Good time.
Who do we have here? Who's this guy? He's just showed up. What is he, homeless? What's going on?
He just found our meeting ID and logged in.
And I'm like, hey,
We just
Just
gotta
like-
shrug and go with it anyway.
He trolls for like Zoom meetings to crash. No, this is Chuck Workman. He's a friend and an author. He's actually the editor of Weird Wasatch, the anthology of weird Utah stories, and he has a almost novella-sized short story in my anthology, Valkyria Awakenings. He's a better writer than I am, and he's going to be presenting and teaching us all about world building at the Writers' Cantina in June. So
Nice.
we can put some more information about that in the show notes. He's just an all-around great guy. People might recognize him as the cosplay doctor from FanX. He was actually on the local news. Used to dress up in scrubs and walk around fixing cosplay mishaps. Just an all-around great guy. He's who I picture when I read the Dresden Files as Harry Dresden. I don't know if I ever told him that. So
Yeah, he was on a
And
really
he's
famous
been on this-
podcast at one point. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
I was just gonna say that. And this is his second appearance on Dysfunctional Adults.
yep, he was a guest in the first season. Yep. I think we talked about guinea pig sex that time, didn't we?
We did. We gave our tribute to
Don't
Betty
we
White,
always?
and then jumped to guinea pig sex immediately.
yeah.
Ew.
We covered all the bases.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome, Chuck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us again, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Jason said you want to do it again, and I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I got nothing else to do on a Wednesday night.
Chuck goes around introducing people to me when we are like among new friends as his dungeon master. I don't like that.
I'm like, and all that implies. Easily rattles my dice bag.
So you've seen his basement then, his new basement.
He's been
Yeah.
here.
I knew it.
Yeah. In fact, right
Yes,
at that
Jason has
table over
played
there, we
with me
played
in his
D&D.
new dungeon basement.
I just ruined the magic for everybody. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I missed you guys last week. I know you didn't record without me, right?
No.
I was in Atlanta, and it was for
Oh, Atlanta. I thought you said Atlantis. I thought you were going to Atlantis. I
well,
was expecting stories of like mermaid sex and all that kind of stuff.
who says I still don't have those stories in Atlanta,
Oh.
Georgia? So, no, I want to tell you a little bit about my quest, my ordeal, my suffering. In the last 15 years, I've flown a lot, like at least once or twice a year. Well, until the pandemic, but before that, I did a lot of work trips, and so I know my way around TSA. I know the drill. You know, take the belt off, take the shoes off. You know, I had a new experience this time. I did all that. I walked through the imager, and then I was told that I had triggered a sensitive area alarm, and so they needed to do a pat down. And the guy asked me, and he's like, "Do you want to do it here or in private?" And I'm like, "What the hell? Let's do it here in front of everybody."
Was there like a hot female TSA agent you could point to and say, can she do it instead?
John, is there ever a hot TSA agent? I have never seen one in my life.
I don't know. I've never been frisked at an airport.
Well, I was. And so what he did is he proceeded to.
I don't try and smuggle weed in my rectum, so I never set off the alarms.
I don't know what it was. I think my shorts were a little baggy, but yeah, I totally got like felt up in the front and felt up in the back. The guy didn't even give me his phone number. So I was molested by TSA. I think that's a great episode title, by the way. So
Was it like George Costanza with the male masseuse? It's like it moved.
nothing
Gary.
moved. Nothing
moved?
moved. Nothing moved.
You're lucky you're in your 40s.
That's why nothing moved.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was gonna, and then it didn't.
It could have been Sydney Sweeney doing it, and it probably wouldn't have moved because I'm so old, fat, and tired. So, but that was humiliating. And then
What did they end up finding? Did they end up even knowing what it was?
they're like, "Oh, like that's your penis," and it's suspiciously weird and malformed. So
The second head threw us off.
no, they found nothing. They sent me on my way. It was weird though. I think sometimes these are random. Like my wife, her phone and her tablet got flagged as suspicious, and there's nothing weird about her phone or tablet. And so they pulled it off. We had to wait an extra 10 minutes to get it back because it was suspicious. So my hatred for TSA grows every time I travel. And honestly, I'd rather take the chances of being blown out of the sky. I really would. But that was just the beginning of a difficult trip. The company scheduled my flight, so I got Southwest. I sound like an airline snob, but if you've ever flown Southwest, they have no direct flights. It's like a bus. Like you go to another like connecting flight every single damn time. So it took like 8 hours for us to get from Salt Lake to Atlanta. We didn't even get to the hotel till like 9:30. We were hungry and tired and sweaty and
molested.
Molested and also being
Violated, yeah.
a man of larger
Retired sweaty, just like sex.
yeah, except not fun. And being a man of a larger carriage, sitting on those airplane seats is not fun for me or anyone else around me. So it was a difficult journey. Georgia is beautiful though, and I've got some stories for show and tell about Georgia. We got put up in a really nice hotel, the Hyatt that Martin Luther King actually stayed at like 60 years ago or whenever it was. And then we were on the 15th story, and they actually had an open balcony so you could walk out. And I took pictures of the city that were really cool. So that was it. Work trips aren't really fun. I did get to see the Georgia Aquarium, which is supposed to be the biggest in the States.
Oh, nice.
Got some videos of some whale sharks, whale
Sweet.
shark, and some really cool things. So, but yeah, molested by TSA. That was my.
Other than the molestation thing, that sounds pretty fun.
Oh, also, I hold my first elected position as of tonight. I was elected as a member of the board on my HOA tonight
Hey,
by default.
because no one else showed up.
Everybody else died.
No, 5 slots, 5 people.
You had to get something.
That's great though, because if you really hate one of the members, you can pick on them and be like, "Hey, everybody, I really hate his garden gnomes. Let's put this to an end."
Oh, I'm totally gonna like turn them against each other until like they literally knife each other, and I'm like the only one left. It's like a Stephen King short story, is what this is gonna
It's
be.
a great idea because HOAs suck.
HOAs, yeah, they're like the root of all evil.
I said that in my campaign speech on the Zoom call. I said that. Usually we think of HOAs as tyrannical, Karen-run, organization. Anyway, stuff like that. But it was fun.
Well, congratulations, I guess.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It's something of a social experiment for me. So
Nice.
Well, that was great. Have a great night, guys.
Yeah.
bye.
Yeah.
This has been the Jason Report.
I can
Mildly
go.
amusing.
I can go next if you want. So the weekend before last, I took my kids to Cross E Ranch. It's a farm like right by our house. It was the baby animal festival, so they had all my favorite animals. Veal, bacon, beef. At least that's how I see them.
You're like drooling the whole time.
Like, veal, calves.
Uncooked veal.
They also have like activities for kids. Like they have the full-size climbing wall, and they have this ropes ninja course thing that my kids love. And remember how I told you guys how I tore my hamstring trying one of those ninja courses in Bear Lake, and how that let me know that I am too old to participate in stuff like that?
Yeah.
Well, apparently I'm too old to even watch other people participate in these things without hurting myself now. They had these like metal cables like 6 inches off the ground, and you'd walk across them while holding these rings. And I was walking, like taking pictures of my kids with my phone and wasn't paying attention. And I tripped over these cables and completely biffed it hard and landed on my wrist and sprained my wrist. So if I was in my 20s, I'm sure it would have been fine the next day. But because I'm in my 40s, this is probably going to be a debilitating injury for the rest of my life.
Right. I'm sorry, man.
So yeah, ninja courses kick my ass even when I'm not even participating in them.
Which
That's
wrist?
the point. That's the point I've gotten to on my life. My left wrist.
Oh, okay. Well, that's, you know.
I was gonna say, good thing it's the left, because
Yeah,
you're not
yeah.
doing as much physical wrist rehab as you were in your 20s.
It's not the one I use as often. So the day after that was Mother's Day. So I wanted to do something special for the mother of my children. So I did what I assume all wives.
Which one?
The ones I claim.
Oh, okay.
The official, yeah.
My in wedlock children. So I wanted to do something special for my wife. So I did what I assume all wives want their husbands to do on special occasions, and I took her to a baseball game. No, it actually was her idea though. She wanted to do something with the entire family, and it is crazy how hot 72 degrees can feel when you're not used to it. Like it was a day game, so we were like riding the sun, and we were like absolutely melting. We had to move up to worse seats just to get in the shade because 72 degrees was overwhelmingly hot. You ever notice that like the beginning of summer, as soon as it hits like 70 or 80, it feels like unbearably hot.
Mm-hmm.
I notice that like every single year, it feels so overwhelming when it's like 70, 75. In a couple of months, we're going to be begging for it to be 72 degrees again.
Yep.
It's like getting into the hot tub. It's like super hot at first, but after a few minutes, you kind of give in, you know,
Yeah.
acclimated to it.
Right.
Have to be in it and wallow for a minute.
And then after the game, we stopped by my mom's to wish her a happy Mother's Day. They had given my wife a rose. They gave out roses to all the women at the game because it was Mother's Day. And so we re-gifted that to my mom as part of her present and told her that, hey, you better like that rose because we went to 5 different florists, checked out hundreds of flowers to find the perfect one just for your Mother's Day. It's like we totally didn't just re-gift this flower that we were given for free a couple hours earlier at a baseball game. So
Nicely played.
that's the considerate son that I am.
Aw.
Thanks for bringing me into the world and, you know, going into the valley of shadow of death to birth me and then, you know, raising me and all this. Here's a re-gifted flower.
That was given for free. Cost me no money and no effort, but happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
I mean, it's pretty synonymous for Mother's Day. Hey, here's a thing you didn't really want to begin with.
Right.
But it's special because I gave it to you.
Exactly.
Somebody else
I
left
think-
it with you.
I think you should still
Enjoy.
draw your mom pictures like you did when you were little, you know, just awful crayon drawings.
They
Do one
wouldn't be-
every year.
They wouldn't be much better than they were when I was like 8 either. So
Right. And then she could put them on her fridge and
I think she'd
And
be
ask you to-
embarrassed too.
ask you to stop. Like, oh, cute. Is that your grandson? Oh, no, that's my 45-year-old son.
You're like, he
Mhm.
really tries. He injured his wrist.
Yeah. The wrist, though, that wasn't even the stupidest injury that happened that weekend for my family because my sister was there too. So I was talking to her and she had like kind of like a cast on her nose. She broke her nose after getting headbutted in the face by her pet goat.
Damn.
Sorry.
She had gone to hug the goat and it had like a fly on its ear or something. So it shook its head and its horn hit her right in the nose and broke her nose.
So I could tell you several things that led to this incident. 1, owning a goat. 2,
Yep.
hugging a goat.
She owns 3 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, don't hug goats.
So yeah, we were comparing like injuries in front of my mom, and I told my mom, it's like, I wish you'd told us middle age sucked. If we knew it was going to be this bad, I never would have let myself get this old.
That's dark.
I just stayed young forever if I knew 40s were going to suck this bad.
Yeah, there's only one real way to stay young forever, my friend.
Orphan blood?
Yes.
I was gonna say
Adrenochrome.
Like-
Yep.
Yeah.
draining life force from children. Like,
Steal
It's like
their
on
youth.
the Dark
Yeah.
Crystal, how they would suck the essence out of those poor Muppets,
Mhm.
you know? So I made a
Muppets.
joke like that at one of my team meetings. Nobody got it.
Oh, that movie came out like decades before they were born, most likely.
Yeah, that was my old team that were all like millennials and Gen Zs. Now I'm with a bunch of Gen Xers and they get the references now. So-
Yeah.
That other team you traumatized into leaving.
Oh my gosh, probably. So
Right on. Well, I haven't done anything, so I guess we'll move on.
What about you, Chuck? What have you been up to?
I taught teenagers how to start fires yesterday.
Hey.
That could go one of two ways.
I'm like, if you're too young to buy a lighter, here's how you do it by rubbing sticks together.
That is so
You've
hard
really
to do.
got to want to get up to the criminal mischief.
Yeah, you really want that cigarette if you're using two sticks to light it.
If you could be like an arsonist by rubbing two sticks together, that takes some dedication right there.
Yeah. It was at my son's school. It's a K through 8 school. And they do part of their art classes. They do primitive arts, and they'll do like shelter building. And a couple of years ago, I helped them make atlatls to throw at hay bales. And yesterday we did primitive fire. So
Nice.
it was one of the teachers used to be like a wilderness therapy guide, something like that. So she's really good at it because she's like demonstrating it. She's like, I won't even get a coal. And 30 seconds later, she's blowing it into fire. I helped one kid in one of the earlier classes that we were able to get an ember and transfer it to the bird's nest, but then he lost it trying to blow it into flame. And then the last kid in the last class of the day actually got fire. He was pretty stoked.
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
It's cool to see it come together because,
Yeah.
like, on my own, I have never gotten a coal to sustain itself enough to get a fire going. But when
Yeah,
you
it's
do,
hard.
It's way hard.
I remember
Like,
from
you don't-
scout camp, like none of us were ever able to do it by rubbing sticks together. You know, like flint and steel was the best we could do.
It's really finicky, like depending on the kind of wood. Because I've tried it with like cottonwood bark and like old cedar like fence slats, just because they were super dried out. But the teacher that was the wilderness guide, she's from Arizona, so she goes back like at least once or twice a year, and she will go out and like harvest saguaro and yucca fiber and all this stuff. So she's got like the quintessential like desert perfect combo stuff. So it's, yeah, if you're using the wrong kind of wood or if there's too much moisture, like the humidity in the air can stop you from getting a coal. So it was pretty
Yeah.
cool that we actually managed to do it. But doing it alone, like you're so worn out, or you finally get the ember and then you go to transfer it and you're so excited you're shaking and you drop it. Because the guy that I learned it from, he said you'll be doing it for just hours and hours and hours out in the sun trying to get a fire going, and just about the time you get it cold, you get that little nuclear bomb of sweat that drips off and lands right in the middle of it. And he's like,
Mhm.
no, because it took you like 5 hours to get it cold.
Yep.
when I was 5,
That was
I was
cool.
under the impression that it was super easy to do that. So I was actually afraid to touch Lincoln logs together when I was like 5. Because I thought they would just explode
Burst
into
into
flame.
flame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Jason,
yeah.
you burned another house down. I swear, Mom, I was just playing with Lincoln
Just
logs.
Lincoln
Lincoln logs.
It's those
building a
King Spring
house.
Lincoln logs with the little red tips.
I also burned myself 2 consecutive July 4ths in a row when I was like 5 and 6. So doing the same exact thing. I picked up sparklers by the wrong ends. Exactly the same. You think I'd learn, but apparently I was a slow child.
Was.
Well, you know.
You grew into a dim adult.
Yeah. A dysfunctional one at that.
I get to see my mom the second year, like, damn it, Jason. Mom, I burned myself.
I lit our carpet on fire when I was like 5. We had a
Oh,
Yeah,
like Marty
these-
McFly.
Yeah. We had these butane heaters, or batano, as they called them. And so it kind of had an open flame, but it had like a kind of a grate, like a little, like it was in jail, you know, I don't know. And
Screen.
I was putting tissues into it because they would, you know, woof. And I let go of them and they'd burn up, but one of them didn't fully ignite. And so it burned on the carpet and melted the carpet. So Yeah. I survived that.
Nice.
Barely.
By blaming your brother.
That's actually absolutely what happened. And he
Like,
was in
Sab!
deep trouble for a long time. And then they found out it was actually me. I was a good
There's
brother.
nothing like that burn in the carpet, and then they discover it years later, and they're like, "Where'd that come from?" And you're like, "Oh,
That's always been there.
Yeah.
They knew immediately.
I fully believe in the Lord of the Flies theory. I know it's kind of a philosophical thing where, like the Joker says, when the chips are down, people eat each other. But if you've had siblings when you're young, you know that is a true philosophy. Sorry, I got something in my eye. Totally, like we would kill each other, if there weren't parents. So.
Jason doesn't even wait for the chips to be down. He's like he runs out of chips. Fighting people.
And then I take my siblings' chips, and like, Mom, Jason stole my food.
Yeah.
I'm shut up. I actually had 5 brothers, and one of them I drowned over that. So in the bathtub. So.
And then he ate him. Some say drown. Jason said marinate.
Well, Zach, what have you been up to? You said nothing, but I don't believe that.
I don't know. Can you guys hear that?
It sounds like a
that
cat.
Is that Neo?
No, it's Trinity. And, she picks now to be the most loving she's ever been in her life and be on my lap, and she doesn't ever do that. It's like now I know you're busy, but...
Does she want food?
No, she just wants attention.
My cat only loves me when he wants food.
You go like weeks without feeding him.
And I put him in a little cage, and poke him with sticks.
Right,
So.
in with the rabbit.
see who wins, like John suggested.
Yep.
Nothing going on, Zach World? How's that like 1-900 service you've been working for?
In.
That's Zach Land. Zach World. That was a failed 90s thing on Nickelodeon. Zach Land is the 976 number.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. The 900 number. Zach's been, fielding the calls from boomers who don't know how to use the internet for porn.
Yeah.
Well, he said he was no good at erotica.
What's that?
God bless him, he tries. You said you were no good at erotica.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I don't. I literally can't think of a thing that's gone on in the past.
Well, leave your car open so it gets stolen again. We gotta, keep the drama.
That
coming,
was good material. That was so interesting to
it was
everybody.
A 3-parter.
It was good enough to last for 3 episodes,
Yep.
Zach.
And it was all textbook shit that happens when somebody's car is stolen. There was nothing different about it. There was nothing exciting. It was a typical car being stolen, found broken.
The
paid
meth
off by
thing was
insurance.
different, I think. I doubt that happens to all of them.
Here in Albuquerque, I'll bet it happens to 98% of them. I don't know, I'm just saying that.
The fact Zach just got back from stealing someone's car to do meth in it.
That's why my eyes are kind of red.
I mean, maybe it wasn't a coincidence that Breaking Bad takes place in Albuquerque.
Right. Exactly.
I know Chuck had a too old for this shit that he wanted to.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
address.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So.
Oh, I'm too old for this shit.
That's your cue, Chuck.
Oh, well, see, here's the problem with being too old for that shit. That was 4 hours ago, and I've already forgotten.
You are really too old for that shit.
All right, play it again, Zach. It's over.
I'm like, what was it? There was a thing.
Oh, I'm too.
I could start
Dementia,
off like my
that's
mom and be like, "Did you see the thing on Facebook?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, the thing on Facebook." No, it was. Damn it, Jason! What was it? We're
talking about Gen Z slang. Remember?
Oh yeah. Well, so yeah, that's right. I was trying to bridge the gap. I was trying to be diplomatic because I was like, I was born
I'm
in '81,
still cool.
so I'm too young to be Gen X, I think. But I'm like on the cusp of being a millennial.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, you're a zillennial.
What'd you say,
I had
81?
Yeah.
Yeah, zillennial.
Yeah, so I had my teenage nephews lived with me for a year, and yeah, they dropped slang, and I had no idea what they were talking about. They'd say something like, "Oh, that slaps," or "That goes hard," and I'm like, "I'll slap you hard." Grumpy uncle yelling at him in the backyard. I told him, like, there's two words I never want to hear: can't and won't, because they were helping me cut firewood. And they're like, I can't pick up that stump. And I was like, now you have to do 10 squats with it. So, yeah. So it was that. But yeah, I was telling them, I'm that uncle. They're like, let me tell you, don't make the mistakes I made. Don't go to college. It's a racket. Go to trade school. Somebody's pipes are always going to leak. Somebody's car won't always run. So I'm like, you can go to university, then you can spend all this money to Uncle Sam, all this money, whether you can find a job to pay for it or not. And now you have to have a 4-year degree to live in a van down by the river. Go to trade school so you can rebuild your van to live in down by the river.
Yep.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's mine. Is I was like, well, I feel for him because I saw a meme that said something about, like, I just graduated college and instead of being full of hopes and dreams, I'm full of anxiety and despair and hopelessness. And I was like, welcome.
And like $100,000 worth of debt too.
Yeah, it takes most people a good 10, 15 years after graduating college to get there. You started there. Well done. Like, you're practically Gen X. Like,
Exactly.
so yeah, college is good for something, and it's breaking the last shreds of spirit that high school left intact.
Wow.
Well, we clearly went to different high school because they fucked me over on that one real good before I left there.
Yeah,
I didn't need college for that.
I planned on taking a year off from school and then going to college. That year off is now 27 years and counting.
Your mom goes to college, John.
My mom did go to college. Yes. She was a teacher.
Yeah, I have nothing to say because I've been to college. So, and I think John makes more than
And
me.
you still probably make less than me.
I know I make less than you. We talked about it.
That is true.
I have a master's
You have a
degree.
master's degree.
Yeah, and John makes at least 10K more than I do.
At least you guys get to retire in 5 years. I mean, you're pretty up there, long in the tooth,
Oh,
getting ready to.
When
Us
I got
81ers over
divorced,
here, we still got a lot of years left. So
I kind of drained my retirement when I got divorced. So
that
Yeah.
sucks.
I'm working until the day I die, brothers.
Mm-hmm. I think I'll just work until I'm done. Then I'll just like walk out into the desert and lay down, let the vultures and coyotes eat me. Because
That's
You
my
know.
401k.
exactly.
It's like coordinates.
Bye, Chuck. Oh, there he is.
Come here. I'm sitting in front of my computer and it goes dark and then just everything blacks out.
Just like when I got molested by TSA.
Yeah.
So
It
sad.
just
You
went
just
dark. And
Go
I
to your
woke up
happy
that night.
place.
Breaking news again.
Wow.
How is it every week this happens?
That was loud.
Yeah, and I didn't turn anything up.
That's an
All
old
right.
man thing. Why is the breaking news so loud? Grandpa, it's your hearing aids.
You turned them way too high.
Oh, I'm too old for this shit.
Poor John.
Nice segue.
This one's about an honorary Florida man. An honorary Florida man, a Pittsburgh tourist in Florida, accused of sexually molesting a statue of a beloved manatee, cops say.
Wait, what? Not even a real one?
No, it's a statue of one outside a restaurant. A rowdy tourist is accused of sexually molesting a statue in one of Florida's Gulf Coast vacation hubs, investigators say.
Did the statue report it? Like,
No, I think it was cool with it.
all right.
Oh,
It happened Friday. It happened
And they're like,
Friday.
"It's a manatee." They all look like that.
exactly. They always have that look of discomfort on their face.
Yeah.
It happened Friday in St. Pete Beach, and the victim was a life-sized statue of a manatee that doubles as a mascot for Rick's Reef Restaurant and Patio Bar, according to the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office.
That's a
Investigators
mouthful.
say the suspect is a 23-year-old man from Pittsburgh who is accused of creating disturbances at the restaurant and a nearby hotel.
Disturbance, right?
While at Rick's Reef, the defendant was throwing gator nuggets at people in the restaurant, the deputy wrote in the affidavit.
I hope that's something from the menu.
I think it actually is, yeah. When confronted by staff, The defendant became belligerent and started sexually molesting a manatee mannequin in the presence of staff and several other patrons. The suspect then ran about 1/3 of a mile to the Postcard Inn on the beach, where he began yelling and screaming obscenities at the front desk worker, officials say. The defendant then chose to linger in the parking lot and continue yelling obscenities enough to cause a traffic backup. Deputies arrested the man and charged him with disorderly intoxication, which is a misdemeanor, officials said. He was released the next day on his own recognizance.
All right.
Two things really quickly. First of all, that reminds me of the first episode of 30 Rock, where Tracy Morgan's in the middle of traffic screaming, "I am a Jedi," with in his underwear and a fake lightsaber.
Oh, yeah.
Second, how do you molest a manatee statue? Like, I don't understand.
You touch and rub it down there.
What, it's anatomically correct? Like the manatee schlong is like,
I I don't know.
well,
You
that's
should
something
know.
to-
He's asking you for a reason. We all know that you've molested a manatee statue. So tell him. Just tell him.
I was thinking it was going back to TSA pat downs, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, at least he wore rubber gloves.
Somebody has to make the wildly inappropriate dad joke that if he felt up a mannequin, does that make it statutory assault?
Ah, nice. I like it.
Nice.
And I got one more quick one. This one's just a headline. Florida man breaks into house, shaves cat's head, and leaves without stealing anything.
That's
I don't think anything more even needs to be said on that one.
Mm-mm. No, that's
God
great.
bless Florida. Says it all right there in the headline. No
It
need
does.
to keep reading because you probably
No.
can't because it's Florida.
There is no explanation. So, yeah, there you go. Breaking news.
Fantastic. So maybe you already answered this. Did you make the mistake of going to college, Chuck?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Have you paid it off yet?
Only because I refinanced my house.
That's what it takes.
That's what it takes. Yeah, I got a degree in anthropology. And you know what I do with it? I can't start fires on my own. I need the help of teenagers.
Well, God bless you.
Right. Well, I had a crusty old philosophy professor tell me having something like a degree is like a high school diploma. Nobody cares what it is, only that you have it.
Right.
So study something you enjoy so you won't hate college. So I studied anthropology.
Or just hook up with as many co-eds as you can.
Chuck's
Yeah, they
college
weren't in my
experience was like a
anthropology
1980s movie.
No, not a lot of hot anthropology students.
No, lots of dirty hippies. I mean, you know the old Geico commercial, so easy a caveman could do it?
Mm-hmm.
Picture the cavemen in like Birkenstocks. There's your anthropology majors.
I know them.
Oh dear.
But if you ever needed like recommendations for some great trail mix or something, they could probably help you out.
Right. They're like, here's how you grow your own organically.
Yep.
I'm like, what, weed? And they're like, no, bananas.
Or like if you know how to like weave a basket or something, they could probably show you how to do that.
They do. They actually do know that. There's like, there are actual classes on basket weaving. They're like, here's how you make it out of raspberry vines. I made this one out of pine needles. I made this one out of my cat's hair. And you're like, you're a math teacher. What the hell?
Tuition well spent.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how useful it actually is. I mean, as useful as real world geography is when it comes to fantasy world building. But my geography final was every week you would focus on like a certain area, a certain country. And it wasn't just like borders and like major exports and stuff. It was here's the rivers, the mountains, the minerals, whatever. And the quiz at the end of each week was here's a blank worksheet. I mean, and this is shit you can do for free online. Here's a blank worksheet. Label as much of it as you can remember. The final for the class was 3 hours. It was a blank world map. And it was fill in as much as you can remember.
Holy
And I
cow.
96%. And I'm like,
Nice.
damn it. like of all the things I learned, it could all be replaced with a now defunct Rand McNally atlas. I'm like, spent 6 months. Like,
Mhm.
Was that what led you to world building? Is kind of your love of geography, or are you just a fantasy nerd?
little of this, little of that.
Yeah.
I was like, look, damn it, I'm going to use this community college education on something. I'm going to write that make me no money to pay off this debt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was honestly something to do. Like, I remember sitting in the library just coming up with like my own alphabet of gnome runes and yeah, just dumb shit. Like, well, this because I remember I was drawing a map and this one guy walked by and he's like, that looks like Mordor. And I'm like, well, actually, it's blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
remember
hang out
coming
in
over
an
to your.
anthropology library. That's the kind of shit you're gonna get drawn into talking about.
I remember coming over to your house and you had maps like in one room, like on all the walls, and
Yep.
just fantasy maps of places that don't really exist, and that was pretty awesome. So,
Yeah, that was my back when I started my blog. It was before I had kids, and I had a whole room in my basement. It was my nerdtorium, and every inch of wall space. Like I thought about getting one of those room divider screens just to have more wall space to hang more maps on because I couldn't fit more without covering the window. Yeah, it was like I think one of them was I want to say it was like 5 feet by 8 feet. Like it was floor to ceiling
Damn.
like the Pathfinder world, which I've never even played. But I was like, hey, the map.
That's cool.
I just read this book for the maps.
Yeah, I have the Pathfinder Inner Sea World Guide, and I've never once played Pathfinder. So yeah, when you're enough of a geography dork, you don't just look at real world atlases and imagine what it would be like to travel. You look at somebody else's hand drawn maps of fantasy world. Like
So,
I've got a whole folder of Tolkien maps
Hmm.
because not just anybody has a labeled map of Numenor. Like, come on,
No.
everybody's got Middle Earth.
no, that's legit. So, what are you presenting on at Writers Cantina?
Fantasy maps.
Is that what it's going to be? Just like a how to world build map style?
um, it's well, because saying world building to me is like saying history to a historian. It's like, and go, and 12 hours later when you want to shoot yourself in the face. Um, So I narrowed it down to filling in the blanks on fantasy cartography because you can have like I think that's even my intro. Let me see if I'm looking at the schedule right here. A writer's nemesis is a blank page. A cartographer's dream is a blank map. Whether using map making software, online generators, or hand drawn squiggles, you will need to eventually put places of interest on your maps. Knowing what goes where and how it all works together is often overlooked, but incredibly important in keeping things cohesive. So yeah,
Nice.
it's because you can have a map like the geography test. You can have a map, just a line map of a country. You can see the borders, you can see the rivers. You might see mountains. Probably not if it's just a line map. But if you're going to use that as a fantasy setting, because you can go find all sorts of free line maps. Just Google. Well, you got to be careful because if you Google free fantasy artwork, you're going to see something you cannot unsee. But if you specify cartography, that's a niche nerd thing. So you can get blank line maps. You can get friggin' elementary school like study guides. It's a map of the US with rivers with no names and then just the dots for the major cities. And then you have to be like, well, that one's St. Louis, that one's Kansas City. So you can go grab one of those. But if you don't know the direction the rivers flow in or why the rivers are where they are, because you can't see the mountains, you got to know where to put that stuff. Or like, well, here's a huge lake with no rivers flowing out of it. How does that work? What would that be like? Well,
It's magic.
here's this. Yeah, here's Nevada. No water, all mountains, lots of desert. Why is there nothing here? Well, because this is the short answer. But you could have that specifically labeled as like a wasteland area or an uncharted area or just like they just call it the Deadlands or whatever on your fantasy map. But because it's like the ale waste, eel waste, whatever in Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time. Yeah.
that's some of the most interesting part of that story is the books when that's where they are, is
Yeah.
beyond the borders of the map where it's just desert. And you're like, well, how would there be this huge, distinct culture? How would they live? What would they worship? What are their philosophies? How do they fight? What are their primary weapons? Blah, blah, blah.
So really,
You can
you can create stories from the map, is what you're saying.
absolutely. I mean, that's how I do it. Like nothing gets my imagination going like a blank map because I'm like, oh, what would go here? Why isn't there anything here? Or throughout the history of civilization, like the cradle of civilization was the Tigris and Euphrates river valleys in the middle of the freaking desert. And that's where farming started. You're like, wait, it didn't start in Indiana? What about Kansas? Like, no, friggin' Iraq, like of all places, Iraq.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, you look at a map and you're just like, okay, what story can I tell here? Or okay, here's a map. I don't know cartography. I'm just going to drop a location. I'm just going to say there's a town right here. Okay, why right there? Well, it's next to a river. Okay, how deep's the river? How wide's the river? Do they use it for trade? Because if they don't, they friggin' should. It's a natural highway. Well, if it's at the confluence of two rivers, that's not just a town. That's a major city. Like that's your St. Louis. That's your, pick one. Like, but yeah, it all goes back to just blank geography quizzes of what's here, why, what do you call it?
So that's kind of a preview. I'm gonna put a plug in for you, okay, real quick. So,
Okay.
Writers Cantina, June 28th through the 29th. Go to writerscantina.org for address information and the schedule, and you can see it's under CJ Workman. I'm sorry, that's your author name. I called you Chuck.
That's
But,
okay.
CJ Workman's going to be presenting on the first day, so it's a Friday, and I'm going to be there. So
10 a.m., room one.
Nice.
If I haven't bored you yet, come listen for an hour.
It's incredible. I've actually seen you do this. I remember hanging out with you, and you just pour over maps, and we started creating stories, and it's just for me that's like nerd cocaine. I love just kind of getting into the collaborative brainstorming of stories. It's a lot of fun. And Chuck, you're one of the smartest guys I know, especially when it comes to that. So,
Well,
but,
we got to be good at something. So if I can look at a blank map and make up shit about it, because
that should
what I
be in
did
your
with
on
the
your
Valcoria
LinkedIn.
map.
I look at blank maps and make up shit about them. So
Yeah, I mean that's basically it. Like, so you write books? Well, I mean,
yes and no.
no, I just look at blank maps and make up shit. But yeah, I
Probably.
did that with the Valcoria map. When you're like, hey, I need you to write a short story.
Oh my
I
gosh.
swear to God, this man told me 100,000 words. I
Not.
will
I
go
said
to my
30.
deathbed.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be 30. He ended up being like, what, 60, 70? He was a whole freaking book. So, but,
Jason, so I started writing Christmas. I was at my sister's for a week over the holidays, nothing to do. And I was like, I guess I'll start writing. And end of March, Jason's like, so how's that coming? And I was like, well, I'm almost done with the first 100,000 words. And he's like, shut up, just send me what you have.
it was
But I
Zach,
filled
tough
in like
too.
half the map because I
Zach,
just couldn't help it.
how many pages is 100,000 words?
Oh my gosh, here we go.
Exactly. No matter how many times I say that non-authors don't know books by word count, we go by page count.
Well, page count can change. The word count
It's,
doesn't.
I mean, if it's double spaced, it's like 150 pages.
Yeah.
100,000 words
10-point
is?
font. It depends on the font and the spacing and the format and the layout, which is why you have to say count because the word number stays the same. It's the pages that don't.
It's still like speaking in a foreign language to non-authors. It means nothing to us. It's just
I'm
words.
flipping you off under the table right now.
It's just
so.
numbers, man.
Anyway, well that's a good segue to show and tell. I know
Well, incidentally, before you move on, though, I just want to let you know that if you feel like what he was talking about is like nerd cocaine to you, imagine doing that while also on cocaine. Mind blowing, I'll bet. Just try it. Try it and get back to me.
well, didn't we ride the original Thomas when we were high on model paint? I think
That's what you guys said, yeah.
that's the legend. Right?
Incidental,
So-
yeah. We were. That's not code for something, and we were not huffing model paint on purpose. We were literally building models, and we forgot to open the window for ventilation.
And the first thing we thought when we got high is like, let's write a movie script.
And that's what came out. It wasn't until like black stuff started coming out of our noses that we're like, oh, maybe we should open a window when we're doing this.
Yeah. You're like, I can taste colors, and I didn't even drink the paint.
Yeah.
All right. Show and tell time.
And now it's time for show and tell.
John, you were giving that microphone the Stormy Daniels treatment a second ago.
Wait, what? Was I?
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I'm just jealous of the microphone. All right. Since I went to Georgia last week, I wanted to do something on theme. And so I have some weird laws from Georgia. So these are always fun go-to material. So here's one. It is illegal in Georgia to keep a donkey in a bathtub.
Well, that's rude.
But a burro is okay, right? Or a mule.
So this weird Georgia law, there's oddly a reason behind this one. And I got this from a site called onlyinyourstate.com. In 1924, an Arizona farmer allowed his donkey to sleep in an old bathtub. A dam burst and the town flooded. The donkey, still in the bathtub, floated downstream. He was rescued, but the ordeal took many hours and a lot of manpower. After that, several states passed laws against the keeping of donkeys in bathtubs.
So it should have died, is what they're saying. Well, then why'd they rescue it? Let it go. I don't understand the reasoning.
They rescued it.
That's how legislation works. Rather than just solve the damn problem by shooting the donkey, you have to outlaw keeping it in a bathtub. Like,
that's the thing about all these crazy laws is that there's a reason they're in the books. Like, it's not a good reason, but there's a story behind why that law was made.
Yeah,
but it's
there
usually
is.
It's something that happened one random fluke time, and so they make some ridiculous law to cover it.
That's a failing of people who we tend to like. It happens one time and we think it's happening all the time, right? So there's probably no need to do that. But someone was just so pissed off that they spent half the day rescuing someone's dumb ass that they decided we're going to make a law about it. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
All right, here's another one. No one may carry an ice cream cone in their back pocket if it is Sunday.
I get it. Yeah.
Any other day, we're good.
Now we know why Jason got frisked by TSA. Sunday.
I had an ice cream,
it's like dripping
in my pocket.
It wasn't in my back pocket, was it?
No, it was. I was keeping it in my crotch, like the baggy pants, you know. So.
Yeah, you got to dig for that. What do they call it? The chunky monkey? What's the Ben and Jerry's flavor?
They're like, is that a ice cream cone in your pocket, or are you just happy to be going through TSA?
Like,
why not both? Yep.
And then when his rubber gloves like started crunching, he's like, "Oh my gosh!" And he's like, "Let me through." He's like, "I don't know what the hell that is." So horse thieves apparently used to put ice cream cones in their back pockets to lure horses away. We're not really sure why this is only applicable one day of the week, but we suspect it might be related to horses being tied up during church. Here's another one. In Athens, Clark County in Georgia, if you want to read your favorite book in public to your friends, do it before 2:45 a.m. We're not sure what led to this, but it probably was related to Athens being the home of the notorious party school, the University of Georgia. I got one more. Also in Athens, Clark County, goldfish may not be given away to entice someone to enter a game of bingo.
That happens a lot.
There's really no reason for it here. So...
I want you to, next time you travel there, if that happens again, I want you to try that and see if you get arrested. It's an experiment.
Here's a goldfish. You want to come to our bingo game?
Sir, you knew better. And then they tase you. Yeah.
It always ends with me getting tased.
Then there's going to be some scalper subclause where he's like, I was trying to sell the goldfish in front of the bingo hall. And like, you can't do that either, sir. I'll just put it in my pocket. Nope, not today.
Wait a minute. Is that an ice cream sandwich in your pocket? Oh.
No, it's in my crotch.
Cone,
remember? Yeah. Goldfish in my pocket, ice cream cone in my crotch.
Wasn't that a Counting Crows album?
I think so. Yeah.
I do want to squeeze in one more here. Persons under the age of 16 may not play pinball after 11 p.m., and there's no explanation. So,
does there need to be?
Just
because. That one actually kind of makes sense.
It kind of does. So that's my show and tell.
Well, I've told Jason this one. I heard it from a guy my mom worked with like forever ago. It was an episode of something from. I told this story to somebody, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he stole that from such and such." But it's this guy my mom worked with had a golden retriever. It was a really good family dog, but being a retriever, it liked to chase things and bring them home. Well, their neighbors raised rabbits, and this guy goes out in the backyard one day. His kids are squealing about something. The dog's got something. And he's like, oh, it's like, dead bird, grab the neighbor's cat, whatever. And he goes out, and this dog has this like mangled rabbit. And he's like, oh, shit. And he doesn't, it's kind of like, the kid's goldfish dies while they're at daycare. So you go out and find one that looks exactly like it and put it in the bowl, and they're none the wiser. Well, the kids don't want him to just throw the rabbit away. The kids don't want him to just bury the dead rabbit. So they give the dead rabbit a bath, like blow dry it to fluff it up, get it all tucked up in a bunny pose,
make it look like it's
back in
alive.
the hutch in the neighbor's backyard.
Wow.
Awesome.
So
It's like Weekend at Bernie's with a bunny.
yeah,
Weekend at Bunnies?
yeah.
Ah!
The kid is funny. Hey, they put some little sunglasses on it. But so the neighbor comes home, and they're just like, oh hell, like any minute we're gonna hear a scream. Nothing ever happens. They see the neighbor at church. The guy doesn't say anything. And then as they're walking home from church, because they live right next to each other, they get to talking. And the neighbor's like, I am having the hardest time convincing my kids this isn't a miracle. Damnedest thing. That rabbit died the day before we left, and we buried it. And we get home, and it's back in its cage. The golden retriever had dug it up and was carrying this dead rabbit around the yard. And rather than just put the damn thing back in a hole, they give it the fluffing fold and put it back in the cage. And the neighbor's kids are like, it's a miracle, he's back.
Holy
Pet
hell.
Cemetery shit.
Oh,
Yeah,
that is awesome.
that's where my mind went. As I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna end bad. That rabbit's gonna start killing people."
Oh,
Well, we didn't even need Luke for this episode, apparently.
Luke, you got some
my
competition.
It's not even my story. It's a retelling of a stolen sitcom. I don't know, but it's funny as hell.
Yeah, it is. That's really funny.
oh, that's awesome. Jason kind of stole my thunder a bit about laws, although mine is not Georgia specific.
This is weird because I also have a law thing coming up in mine. But anyway, keep going. Yeah.
Well, we're talking a lot about geography, so it kind of makes sense. So
I'm sorry. Like Jason has.
it's what you do. Here's 30 weird laws from around the world from Reader's Digest. I'm not going to read all of them, just some funny ones. Winnie the Pooh is banned in Poland because he's not wearing pants. They believe that is too risque for children.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
he doesn't need to be drawn with the boner. I mean, that is kind of disturbing.
Yeah.
He wants to make Piglet squeal.
Wow.
I saw Zach's face.
What
face.
is going on? Oh, Bob.
Wait, how do you say deliverance in Polish?
In Sweden, it's illegal to spontaneously dance in a bar or restaurant. Owners must adhere to a bygone law and get a dance license.
License to dance.
It's like Footloose. Yeah, exactly.
It's an 80s movie. Yeah.
The Swedish parliament announced its intention to repeal it in 2016, but they never got around to it. And a restaurant owner in Sweden was prosecuted as recently as 2020.
Jeez.
Wow. In the United Kingdom, all beached whales and sturgeons that wash up on shore must be offered to the reigning monarch, according to a decree from 1322.
Here you go, King George.
Right?
That
Never-
was just somebody trying to get out of like poaching the king's fish, and they're like, "No, the sturgeon just crawled up on the bank." I swear.
Exactly. It says, as recently as 2004, the late Queen Elizabeth II waived her right to a 120-kilogram sturgeon found by a fisherman that had washed the shore.
I want to see those bloated whales, the ones that explode, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I could see like the king like inspecting the carcass and then it suddenly just boom,
Blows
you know,
up.
Yeah.
covered in
Like,
whale
Save the
guts.
queen.
It is illegal in Germany to be unconscious at your own wedding.
Mm.
The marriage can be annulled if one of the parties wasn't aware they were getting hitched.
That seems fair.
Seems specific.
I think I know Germany's least favorite Friends episode.
In Belgium, no one can take your last cow or your last 12 sheep or goats, or your last pig or your last 24 chickens either.
Mm.
Like if your stuff is being repossessed, they need to leave you with at least 12 sheep or goats and 24 chickens. In 1995, the city of Barra do Garças in Brazil passed a law setting aside 5 hectares for a UFO airport to cater to the flying saucers reportedly spotted in the area.
Have they used
All
it
right.
or no?
In
It's
Switzerland,
5 hectares to a single thimble of kerosene.
in Switzerland, it's illegal to hike naked. It doesn't seem
What?
that weird, except that being nude in public isn't illegal anywhere else in Switzerland. But for some reason, hiking naked is where they draw the line.
What?
Yeah.
That's like a Showtime version of Sound of Music. That law.
Skinamax.
Yeah, it's like those
Skinamax.
on trap. They can't just go hiking, and they're like, but they were naked, and they're like, yeah, that's what we don't like about it.
Zach, in your motherland of Norway, you are allowed to pick someone else's cloudberries, but
Mhm.
only if you eat them on site.
Correct. Yeah.
You are not allowed to
Correct.
take them away from
Right.
the location.
Yeah, don't do
Zach's
that.
a lawyer. Zach's a Norwegian lawyer.
That's so stupid. Consume those immediately.
I submit, Your Honor, he was still on that man's side of the fence when he had those stolen cloudberries. The county survey clearly shows he was not on his own property.
Exactly.
Pretty sure that's a side quest in Skyrim.
You get to the Cloud District very often, you better eat your cloudberries while you're there.
In the Netherlands, you cannot lock a burglar in your bathroom if he breaks into your home. It's considered a deprivation of his freedom, which is illegal. Because the whole breaking into your home in the first place is totally okay.
Is the basement okay? You know?
It just says the bathroom. So, in the Australian state of Victoria, you can be sentenced to up to 10 years in prison for corresponding with a pirate.
Mm.
And this law was established in 1958. So we're not talking about like the 1700s here.
What? They still have a problem with like swashbuckling piracy back then?
Arr.
Arr. Arr, I'm sending ye this letter.
What is a pirate's favorite letter? The illegal correspondence kind.
Like
They-
if a pirate would obey that law, right? I mean,
Pirates.
Apparently, they like their beer in Finland because, according to a Finnish law dating back to 1734, everyone deemed a peasant in Finland must plant hops on their property unless their land is unsuitable. Otherwise, you will incur a fine in thalers, which is still the currency in 1734.
Hmm.
I'd like to buy that from you with these whale's teeth.
How many thalers to a hectare?
In Rome, it is illegal for your lips to make contact with the spout of a drinking fountain.
That's a good law.
That should be illegal everywhere.
It makes sense, but how are they going to enforce that?
By
Electric
teaching
shock.
you as a child in kindergarten, you smack them as soon as they do it. There's-
Yeah, you want to chip their teeth out that little bib on the
Yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of push
Just-
their head into it.
Violence and consequences. That's all that matters.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, you said that's in Rome, right?
Yeah.
So like Catholic school, they're probably already getting like hit with rulers by nuns.
Apparently, it's not enough,
Yeah.
is it?
No. In Thailand, it's illegal to step on money. Why? Because you could face a prison sentence if you disrespect the king, and that extends to insulting his image, which appears on all forms of money. So you can't step on money because it's like stomping on the king.
Meanwhile, we're drawing beards and mustaches on George Washington. And
Monaco is famous for its gambling, but people born in Monaco aren't allowed to play in its casinos.
What?
The casinos are apparently made specifically for tourists, according to a 19th century law, which is probably not enforced today. But
That's a deleted scene from Casino Royale.
yeah.
Where James Bond and Le Chiffre are sitting down at the table, and nobody wanders in off the street, and they're like, "Get out of here, local! You can't stay at our table."
in Valencia, Spain, rusty beach umbrellas and chairs are illegal. They can confiscate your beach umbrellas if they have too much rust on them.
But is a rusty beach umbrella in Valencia kind of like a Cleveland steamer? Like, is that a euphemism for something?
Jason, get on Urban Dictionary real quick, dude.
It says it's to avoid any type of possible contamination.
Exactly. No rusty beach umbrella.
Zach, last time I looked up something you told me to look up, it changed me.
I know, and you're not finished yet. I haven't finished creating what you're going to become. I need you to look this up.
Yeah, Jason, he said look it up. He didn't say subscribe to the newsletter.
Docking.org.
Docking.org.
Anyway. This one I kind of agree with. In Singapore, you can be fined up to $700 if you don't flush a public toilet after using it.
Hell yeah.
That should be.
I'm all for that one. You walk in there and
gross.
I'm all for that one. In Austria, according to a 1915 law, it's illegal to use bread to clean wallpaper or floors.
Makes sense.
Yeah. In India, under the 1934 Indian Aircraft Act, a kite is defined as an aircraft. As a result, you cannot fly a kite in India without a permit. In Chile, you can be fined for getting to hang the national flag from your home on Independence Day, or hanging it in the wrong way can also get you a fine. It must be suspended from a white pole or from the front of the building and be in clean and good condition.
Yeah, don't go using a rusty beach umbrella.
No.
Salt, ketchup, and mayonnaise are banned from restaurant tables in Uruguay.
What?
It's part of their drive to reduce high levels of hypertension, it says.
Can you imagine that in like Texas?
Oh, yeah, that's not going over well.
There'd be a civil war.
They'd lose again.
That was a federal law.
And I think this is the last one. It says, in Japan, you can be prosecuted for drunk driving, even if you're not drunk and not driving. It's
They just really wanted that guy to go to jail.
They did.
My brother-in-law.
Are you drinking pee? Are you drinking pee?
It like blurs it out. So
yeah, because it's pee.
Yeah.
Yep.
It says
Nice.
it's against the law to even be in a passenger in a car in which the driver is over the limit. So, yeah,
That sucks.
there we go.
You know what spawned that? Is they tried to pull the switcheroo where the guy was hammered and the passenger wasn't, and they got pulled over and they just switched. The cop was
yeah.
like, I don't care. I'm taking you to jail. And be like, I wasn't drunk and I wasn't driving. And he's like, I don't care. Get back.
Before I start, I have a quick question to make up for not having anything. And I want to ask you guys how much money, and you have to give me an amount. You can't say no amount. Back in the days of when Fear Factor and those sorts of shows were really popular, first coming out, I remember seeing, and I don't know if it was on Fear Factor or what it was, but they had somebody using like a spray bottle, a water spray bottle, and they were spraying it on the handrail of an escalator, and somebody put their tongue on it and let the escalator run along their tongue and keeping it wet so it didn't burn their tongue. This is, I'm thinking like Crossroads Mall, like handrail on an escalator, like that many people. How much would somebody have to pay you to do that? One revolution.
What's in the spray bottle?
Just water to keep it moist so that your tongue doesn't burn.
Well, I was thinking if it's hand sanitizer, like it's going to taste like shit, but it's clean. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
$50 then?
Yeah.
Or maybe for Chuck, if you put whiskey in there, it's going to also keep it clean. So
That's another one of those things that you should Google. It's a whiskey handrail. A Crossroads whiskey handrail.
Yeah. Yep. No,
See
I've
what
heard of that
pops up,
one.
Yeah.
kind of like a Mexican Halloween.
You have to have the lingual control to like get. It's not just like you can't just like lizard tongue. You got to be able to spread it out to cover maximum surface area.
Flatten it. Yep.
Because those escalator rails, they're like a good few inches wide.
I'm gonna be honest. I would do it probably for a pretty low price. Like
Jason would do it for a double dog dare. Like,
yeah,
Jason doing
probably.
for a Klondike bar.
But if I could get 10,000, that at least that's my bar.
10,000?
10,000. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd probably.
I want more.
How much you got, Zach?
Oh, right. Not much. Some change. It's a bag of change, though. It's been building up for. It's like a quart bag of change. So if you're in, I've got it.
Nice. What about you, Zach and Chuck? What would you do it for $10,000?
Absolutely 10,000. That's easy.
Yeah, probably.
You're like, I'd have done it for $20, so 10,000 is a lot of extra money.
I'd honestly.
When I was right out of high school, I was working on a landscaping crew, like a groundskeeping thing. And a bunch of the guys smoked. And I mean, you're a bunch of like 19, 20-year-olds, young as hell, broke. And they were all smoking out in front of the cafeteria one day. And it was now there's the ashtrays that are like the post in the bucket that are smokeless. This was like the old school. They look like there's like a metal tray and the snow melt had been collecting in it.
I don't
And
like where this is going.
There's brown ice cube with cigarette butts in it. And they were going to pay me $20 to lick it. And when I leaned in to lick that, a guy dropped his fresh ash from a cigarette on it, and I stopped because I didn't want to burn my tongue. That's $20.
That's the only thing that stopped you.
Yeah, I was going to lick the Marlboro Man's ice cube.
Don't look that up either.
You'd have to pay me a lot more than $20 to do that.
I mean, hey, $20 in 2000, that was a lot of money. Like, that'd fill your Corolla for a month.
This episode's great we're going to need to start collecting Urban Dictionary terms because these are
We
good.
need to start publishing our own.
Yeah.
The Immortal Works Urban Dictionary. We got Crossroads Whiskey Handrail, Rusty Beach Umbrella.
Marlboro Man's Ice Cube.
Yeah.
I think I'd do it for 1,000. I think. I could use $1,000 right now.
I'd probably do it for $1,000.
John?
Probably would.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Then it's straight to the emergency room for
Which will cost over $1,000.
Yeah.
antibiotic
That's
IV
you
drip.
know you're middle-aged is you're like, wait, what's my copay? Have I met my copay?
Exactly. I've hit my dedeductible, so yeah, I think I'd actually get most
Hell
of that money.
yeah!
Yeah, I'm like, that's 2/3 of my deductible. Fuck yeah, I'm looking at ashtray.
Exactly.
You know how many chiropractor visits it takes to get you $1,000?
For real.
Unfortunately, only like 4.
Right?
Let me get
What you
back
got for
to
us?
business here. Just more random facts.
You know, I was talking to Holly about your random facts. We're very impressed that you're writing these jokes. They're really good.
Oh, well, thank you. I
She said
appreciate
that.
it.
She said that, not my words. So, well, I paraphrased her, but
I think this is going to be the third time I say this in this season of the podcast, but I love Holly.
yeah, she's a sweetie.
Oh, you're the best.
Well, thank you. I'd take that as a compliment. I appreciate it. A crocodile escaped out of a duffel bag on board a flight in Congo, causing everybody to go to the front of the plane. This caused the plane to crash, leaving only one survivor, and I hope that survivor was the crocodile.
I did do that one last season.
Oh, did you? Okay.
The crocodile and one person survived.
Oh my God.
It killed like 20 people. Only one person and the crocodile survived. Yeah.
Awesome. That's
I
even
love
better.
that one.
That's great.
That crocodile's like, every time I fall asleep in a duffel bag in the Congo, 20 people die, and I get blamed for it.
So this random fact made me look it up a little bit, but this is a performance piece this time. So bear with me because I don't do impressions. In 1986, while approach Krumruch Airport, Soviet Aeroflot pilot Captain Kluyev made funny bet with idiot first officer Dirnov that he, Kluyev, could make instrument-only approach with cockpit window curtains closed, so he cannot see ground. This is stupid.
I love it.
Instead of NDB approach suggest by whiny air traffic control, which is for weaklings. Kluyev also ignore annoying ground proximity warning at altitude of 62 to 65 meters. That is 203 to 213 feet if talking American pig dog speak. And he did not make suggested go-around that is for crybabies. The aircraft touched runway at 150 knots, or 280 kilometers per hour, or 170 miles per hour for pathetic Americans. Plane come to rest upside down after gloriously overrun runway. 63 people honorably die during accident and 7 when in hospital. 14 children all survive because they are strong Russian stock. Zirnov wisely did not stop Kuleb, but he did try to save passengers like he was a mama and die of heart attack on way to hospital like little bitch. Kluyev was prosecuted and sentenced to 15 years in prison. Later, prison bosses say, okay, only 6 years. We get joke. It was funny.
How many people did he kill?
63 people died during the accident and 7 more in the hospital. It was kind of hard to tell because that guy has a thick accent.
And he got 6 years.
Yeah, he got 15 originally, I think they said, and then he got time served at 6 years. They were
For
like
killing 63 people.
Yeah,
Wow.
crazy.
He was quoted as saying, "Look how short the runway is, but it's so wide." Like,
Yep. In Louisiana, biting someone with your natural teeth is simple assault. Using dentures to bite someone can be classified as aggravated assault. Apparently, false teeth count as a weapon. What I want to know is, can I sue the octogenarian I accidentally slept with at Mardi Gras for intent to cause bodily harm?
hey,
I mean, she took out her dentures, but just seeing them in a glass next to the motel room's vibrating bed made me really nervous. Do any of you know a lawyer?
I think that you've hit rock bottom if that's your situation.
I'm trying to get money wherever I can, whether it's licking a Crossroads Mall handrail.
it begs the question: do they have to be your dentures that you bit someone with? Do they have to be in your mouth, or can you like? Or because it's Louisiana and you might still have some of your own teeth, what if it's like bridge work and like 4 of the 7 you bit them with are false?
Right. Is that a partial? Like, do you get
Yeah, do they,
less time?
can you plea out for that? You're like, well, I tried to bite him kind of to the side like, but I got him straight on accidentally.
Oh, man. These are good questions. We need a lawyer. Do you guys have any lawyer friends? I looked that one up to make
I
sure.
could probably be one in Louisiana without much effort.
You have an anthropology degree. That's just as good as passing the bar in
Yeah.
Louisiana.
Really?
All right.
I did get into a theological argument with Brandon Sanderson on Facebook last week.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I
So-
won't go into details. We're both LDS, the LDS faith, and he was arguing some things that are not doctrinally true, and so I had to get on him, and we went back and forth. It was pretty funny.
Did he run out on world building and he's trying to tell you Kolob's part of the Cosmere?
I wouldn't be surprised. No, yeah, I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but it was pretty fun going back and forth with New York Times best-selling author Brandon Sanderson in a real argument.
So, does he no longer think you're big sexy Jason then?
I think we kind of ended amicably. So,
All right.
yeah, it was funny.
So he won't punch you next time you stalk him at a FanX or whatever.
Probably not. But there was a part of me who's like offended because he said some things that like went against what I believed, you know.
Mhm.
And then there's at the same time I'm like, Brandon Sanderson's talking to me.
I offend Jason's beliefs all the time, and I'm no New York Times bestseller, so he still talks to me.
No,
Yeah, but he doesn't pee his pants when you argue with him like he does with Brandon.
Well, I mean,
different situation. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're fine, because honestly, that was basically it. I have one more, and I didn't get to finish it, and it was the pinky promise. Originally indicated that the person who breaks the promise must cut off their pinky finger, and I think it's time we bring that back. That's all I got. I didn't finish, so I do have one more that I had written for when Daniel was on.
Oh, okay.
And I skipped it, and I'm just going to try it because I'm already like slacking today. So I'm just going to see if this one hits at all. It's ridiculously stupid. Disney World is the second largest purchaser of explosives in the United States, the first being the U.S. Department of Defense. But let's pretend for a moment that we don't know the reason for this and can only speculate that it has all been a slow, long con to go to war with our current government and take over, making Disney country. Led by Mickey, whose new laws include costume requirements for all citizens, required singing and dancing participation in a minimum of 3 musical numbers per day, yearly Avengers Endgame Battle of Earth reenactments to be played out with real-life violence, basically making it a type of yearly purge, but in the style of Disney's MCU. Peers vote each other into the roles of those who live and die within the original battle based on their newly instated social credit score. Outside of reenactments, when citizens, now dubbed Mickey Mouse Clubhouse members, or Clubbies for short, break a law or simply rub the Sith the wrong way, and the Sith are obviously our new police force, they are sent to the Petronaki Arena, also known as the Arena of Justice, where they must battle fierce creatures such as rancors, flurkin, assorted humanimals, outriders, anthropomorphic brooms, candelabras, bureaus, and cups, the hellhound known as Pluto, and should they somehow defeat Pluto, destroyer of worlds, which is not likely, they will face the infamous Steamboat Willie. Legend has it he is the keeper of Walt's frozen head. The end.
Nice.
And Goofy's the Secretary of Defense.
Probably.
yes, he is.
I say we bomb
You know, our
them.
Secretary of Defense is.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
that's
that was
awesome.
great, man.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That's one of those things where it's like good sci-fi is just taking the world as it is and adding a generation
Right.
or whatever, because it's Disney World. They are basically a fascist regime if you talk to their employees, and they own more land in Florida than the state of Florida. And when the governor goes against their wishes, they secede. Like, it's all happening.
Sorry, it's begun.
Yep. I'd be good with the purge part of it. Like, I'll
I'll dress up like Thor and kill people.
Well, it makes you wonder, are they going to do like a whole like East Coast, West Coast rivalry, like hip hop? Because you've got Epcot Center, I think, is Disney World.
Hmm.
And Epcot Center could be like the new Thunderdome. And then you have West Coast California Adventure, where they hunt you through the Mojave wearing Disney heads.
hell yeah.
That would be epic.
I kind of want to see that movie. I'm not lying.
And you're
So there's a really freaky. It's Jason Momoa, Jim Carrey. I had no idea what it was about because I saw like a YouTube short about it. But it's called The Bad Batch, and it's basically like near future. That maybe it's part of Nevada, like just outside Vegas, but just swaths of the desert that are now just like this huge chain link fence surrounded by guard towers And when you're convicted, they don't put you in prison. They just drive you out to the chain link, push you through a gate, and you're on your own in this like no man's land. And
Like Escape from New York in the desert.
Yeah. Yeah, and like just crazy shit happens. Well, now Disney owns Star Wars, and Star Wars has a show called The Bad Batch. So it's all happening. Like
It's all falling into place.
Yep.
yeah, you have like your mutated clones. The Kaminoans just didn't quite get the recipe right. And they just turn you loose in the desert and these things hunt you. What the hell?
Yeah, I think I saw that movie that you were just talking about, the original The Bad Batch. That's another one that sounds familiar.
It was freaky. I mean, it had everybody in it. It was
Was the main character a woman?
yeah.
Yeah, okay, I remember that then. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's Jim Carrey and Jason Momoa. Keanu Reeves is in it. It's like this weird cult leader dude.
Right. I remember that.
But I mean, it gets gnarly.
Yeah.
You're like, am I still watching this? I kind of want to get to the Momoa. Like, when's Jim Carrey coming in? This needs some laughs. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
dark.
even think he talks. I think he's mute. He's like some mute homeless guy.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's Jim Carrey?
Yep. Oh, I forgot about that. You guys should see that. It was something
Yeah,
else.
I'm gonna have to.
It's
Yeah.
a trip.
All right, y'all. Well, thank
I
you
love
so
you
much.
guys.
And
Thanks, Chuck, for being
It's
here.
been fun, guys. Yeah, thanks for coming by, Chuck.
yeah, thank you very much.